All right, I'm back to do more of this Q&A bullshit. Fucking sweet, right? Yeah. Michael Dan asks, have you ever met any Satanists in your life? And if you have, what were they like? Also, Satan love to gay butt sex. I know, I had sex with Satan in a dream of mine once. No, I actually didn't have sex with him because the second his cock touched my asshole, he melted. And somehow I knew that it was because I was too evil, even for Satan. So it's pretty bad, to be that evil, You should try to avoid that sort of evil in your life. But, I can't help it because it's just the way I am. And I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am? In the paper, the news, every day I am. I wish I was in the paper and the news. But, I'm not. Not famous enough. Wish I was a talented rapper, then maybe I would be. Anyway, yeah, Satanists. I've met some. They're usually pretty fun people. I've thought, usually really nice, friendly, fun to be around. Don't take shit too seriously. Don't get offended by every little thing. So really my kind of people, from what I've experienced. Andrew Mercer asks, why were you afraid of the phrase butthurt cat? Why am I wearing my headphones? There's no reason. Why were you afraid of the phrase butthurt catching on? Originally I thought it sounded stupid and I really didn't like that it was permeating the internet. I thought that it just sounded like a dumb phrase. But I warmed to it over time. I don't know when exactly the shift happened, but I no longer feel that way. I'm more than eager to call people butthurt when they are. I think it's because the internet got full of way more butthurt people, and the phrase became more and more useful. Robbie's Mom 1 says, hey, what do you think of gangs? I hate groups in general. Gangs are just a type of group. They follow the same behavioral patterns as any type of group. What's the difference between a gang battle and World War II? It's just fight over territory, fight over economic supremacy, fight over who gets to rule. The only difference is the scale. And so I hate gangs, obviously, but I don't really hate them any more than the government or, the Democrats or the Republicans or any other group of people. Obviously, I'm more afraid of them than I am most of those things. But honestly, I don't know. I guess I fear the police more than I fear a gang. I'd be more afraid of the police shooting me than a gang member. But I don't live in an area that's infested with gang violence, so easy for me to say. Old Shoes. Did you ever go to college? What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's pointless? I don't really function well in structured environments. So I got out of school as soon as I could. I had no desire to go to college. My ACT scores alone were enough to get me invited to attend some decently prestigious schools. But I had no desire to do that. I had finally escaped. What is this? Oh, it's a bruise. Okay. I had no desire to once again immerse myself in that sort of restrictive environment where I don't feel like I can conduct myself the way that I see fit. That's very important to me, is being able to be myself, be who I truly am, not have to put up a front, because I find that very frustrating. So I don't think I could have done well in college, particularly not in the very politically correct atmosphere that college campuses now, that have infected college campuses now. I'd be, my videos alone would ensure that, I'd be hated by the campus feminists, despised, and, they pretty much run the show now. So I don't think I'd do well in college. As for whether or not it's pointless, I mean, that really depends on what you plan to do in your life, what your career goals are. For some career goals, college is an absolute necessity. So I can't really say it's pointless, but, you know, not for me. That was old shoes. Teen's Brain asks, you mentioned in your last Q&A that you still watch The Nostalgia Critic. What's your favorite of his most recent reviews? I really enjoyed the Jurassic World review, actually, and it was kind of a change of pace because he didn't actually use clips from the movie. He just recreated it. And I thought that was fun, and, you know, it was pretty creatively done. Great cameo in there from the Honest Trailers guy. So I thought that was a lot of fun. I watch Honest Trailers, too, by the way. Brosif Stalin asked, tits or ass? You know, it's definitely ass for me. But, you know, tits are great, too. I don't want to disparage tits in any way. A nice set of tits is definitely something that interests me and provokes certain biological and intellectual responses that I find both pleasant and, I don't want to say overwhelming, but definitely I feel my grip on myself. Well, not that kind of grip, but my mental grip on my emotional faculties kind of wanes in the sight of a nice set of tits, but an ass definitely makes me salivate just a little bit more. What food do you associate with sex? I have a food fetish, so pretty much any food that I like, I feel could be a prop in a sexual game, and I like most foods. How do you feel about libertarians? I used to be a libertarian, and I relate to libertarians on a lot of issues, and I think that they're usually pretty intelligent people, although I find them to be naive. And if you want to know more about how I feel in the face of libertarian naivete, you should watch my debate on the Drunken Peasants with libertarian Adam Kokesh. I think that I express a lot of my opinions about libertarianism in that video. I think you can also watch that on the Amazing Atheist channel. So I would just go to either DP or the Amazing Atheist and type in Adam Kokesh in the search bar, and you'll probably come across it pretty quickly. And I think that will give you a lot of perspective into how I view libertarian politics and why I consider them to be naive and overly idealistic. Superman versus Goku versus Brawley versus the Hulk. Which would you rather see? Oh, okay. He's asking me if I would rather see Superman versus Goku or Brawley versus the Hulk. I think Brawley versus the Hulk would be interesting, but the Hulk would be at a distinct disadvantage, lacking the power of flight. But maybe in this version, the Hulk can fly for some reason. Does it not make more sense that each person should have their own personal beliefs rather than fight over which belief is more credible? At the end of the day, no matter what you believe, you are wrong in some way or another, so why not just refuse to label yourself, refuse to argue, and just be peaceful? Is that not what life is all about, really? Maybe that's what life is all about for you. I happen to think that some beliefs are demonstrably more credible than others, and while I agree that everyone's beliefs probably contain some ultimate flaw, and perhaps everyone's beliefs contain some ultimate flaw, it makes more sense to embrace the most empirically sound point of view possible. Now, that doesn't mean that I would condone people being forced into believing that way, but I do think that it makes sense for people to argue for the positions that they feel are the most logical, because that's how ideas grow and evolve. I think that if everyone was just content to, and there's by the way, there's certain beliefs you can't just be content to ignore. If someone believes in a particularly violent sort of Islam, they're not going to just keep that belief to themselves. They're going to try to spread that belief either with aggressive debate tactics, or smear campaigns, or maybe even violence. So it's not something you can just say, oh, well, that doesn't affect me. You know, the things that people believe affect their behaviors, and their behaviors affect the world. Just like you can't just say, you know, feminists aren't just going to be content to say, we're feminists and here's what we believe, and we just keep to ourselves about it, because they see things out in the media that offend their sensibilities, and they say, look at this happening here, and look at this inequality and that inequality. And you might think that some of their complaints are valid, or that some of their complaints are bullshit, or that all of their complaints are bullshit, or that all of their complaints are valid. Wherever you fall on the spectrum of siding with feminists or going against feminists, regardless of any of that, the fact is that feminists are going to fight for what they believe. Everyone is going to fight for what they believe, because no one is just going to be content to live in a world where they perceive injustice, where they perceive wrong-headed action. So I don't think it makes any sense to expect people to just kind of twiddle their thumbs and say, well, things are happening in the world that go totally against what I believe, but, you know, live and let live. It's unrealistic. Black Sabbath asks, who would you say is your favorite music group or artist? And the worst, in your opinion? You know, I'm not going to get too much into worst, because, you know, really the worst music groups are ones that you've probably never heard of because they never went anywhere. But of the ones that reach the mainstream, I mean, I have a lot of the stereotypical hatreds. I think Nickelback is very mediocre. There was a band called Puddle of Mud. I don't think they even amount to anything anymore. You know, there's bands like Shinedown and Breaking Benjamin. Just really generic, mediocre bands that I just don't care for. My favorite bands or groups, I really enjoy Marilyn Manson. I enjoy Tom Waits. I enjoy Nick Cave, whose son recently passed away, and feel terrible about that. Bob Dylan, Pink Floyd, quite a few that I like. And then there's lots of bands that I like a few songs from and haven't really listened to much else. You know, like... I've listened to some Andrew Jackson Jihad. I like that. But I haven't really listened to their catalog too much. I really just like the song People Too. That's the number 2, by the way, in case anyone wants to look that up. The Jags YouTube asks, how do you think America, in terms of social rights, gun control, and police, compares to Germany? For example, in 2011, the German police fired 21 shots, not one lethal, but our police is so fucking washed out that they won't ever get physical, even when they're in dangerous situations. I would say having an under-aggressive police force is probably better than having an overly aggressive police force. I don't know if we should turn our police officers into total pussies, but I certainly don't think that they should be a military force capable of overwhelming anyone at any place at any time. Captain Neckbeard asks, I've heard you support the argument before about how if you outlaw guns, the only people that will have guns are criminals, or just how black markets work in general. But I've heard you say this argument recently in DP, where you said this argument is a joking manner. Have you reconsidered your stance on firearms? I get a lot of firearm questions. It's very strange. I'm not exactly sure what... I wish I could actually talk to you and get some clarification on the narrative here. But I do think it's pretty sound to say that if you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns. Because, you know, anyone who has a gun will be an outlaw by necessity. And also, you know, the criminal element that uses guns for crime is not going to care whether guns are outlawed or not. That's certainly true. And, yeah, the black markets thing also holds up. I mean, that's why I don't support gun prohibition, because there would just be black markets of people buying guns underground, because that's what people do when you outlaw something. It's what they did when they outlawed all the drugs. It's what people have done with marijuana. It's what people did when gay sex was illegal. It's what people did when, you know, it doesn't matter what the fucking item is. If there's something that people want and the government says they can't have it, the people are not going to listen to the government. They're going to listen to what their hearts desire. So I don't believe in gun prohibition. But I also don't like guns, and I do believe that more stringent controls should be put in place. Because even if criminals don't obey those controls, at least it makes it a little harder for them to get what they want. Are you still dating Kyle? Is his dick big? That's Undead Productions Co. I'm not still dating Kyle. If you'd watched my last two answers videos, you'd know. As for the size of his dick, well, Kyle was transgender, so he didn't have his own penis, but the ones he wore could be quite large. TJ, this is Tick All Yenstall. Sorry. Sorry, I've already answered this question, because these things kind of got reshuffled since I was last here. What's your favorite sex position? Usually it's going to be something where I'm getting fucked in the ass, or I'm fucking someone else in the ass. Yeah. But as far as what positions happen, I mean, you know, anything that involves that is usually pretty good. Written Word says, people talk about legalizing weed, which I'm all for, but along with that, you get a lot of people supporting the same cause as you. I've seen a lot of people claim that marijuana can cure cancer, yet there don't seem to be any supporting data or evidence to back up that claim. How do you deal with people who say things like that, or do you write them off like I've started doing? When people start making claims about the almost miraculous medical properties of marijuana, I simply say, you know, there's no solid or credible research to back up what you're saying. And if you want to believe it, that's your right, but I think it's nonsense. You know, I do think that, you know, marijuana may well have medicinal properties. I've heard that for people who have appetite loss after cancer, the appetite loss that comes along with chemotherapy, basically, it can do well to treat that and actually make them hungry. So perhaps that's legitimate medical use, and perhaps there are other legitimate medical uses out there. But I seriously doubt that even 9/10 of the claims made by ravenous marijuana advocates are true. The argument shouldn't be that this is a magical miracle drug that's going to cure all our ills. The argument should be that this is going to generate new tax revenue, and that this is a recreational substance, no more dangerous, and in fact significantly less dangerous than alcohol and tobacco. And that should be the argument moving forward, not marijuana's going to cure your cancer, because that's just silly. And there's no serious medical science backing that up, even a little bit. Anal werewolf. I'm sorry, this is another one I've already answered. Like I said, these got shuffled around. YouTube is very idiosyncratic about how it arranges comments lately. Would you ever throat fuck a goose? No. DRWXP. Are we really just selfish base animals? Oh yeah, I already answered that one too. Nunoski Orange asks, what are your fetishes? You know, most of the hardcore BDSM stuff. And then Vor, you can look that up. You know, let me just go to my porn blog, because I'll probably see stuff there. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, BBWs, that's big, beautiful women. That's what I'm looking at here, is a nice, chubby chick with big tits. Spanking, yeah, spanking is good. Hardcore spankings, serious ass damage. Femdom, males in chastity devices, and with their asses plugged as well. Females in chastity devices with their asses plugged are also good. Really sloppy, slimy-looking blowjobs. women with big asses, fucking machines, you know, because they're so relentless. They just fuck and fuck and fuck and fuck, and they're never going to get tired and go, oh, baby, I need a breather. Whippings, objectification, strap-ons, you know, caning. That kind of goes with spanking, but, you know, a little separate. Weird, like, institutes where people are kept as slaves. That's also good. Twinks. Most forms of bondage, yeah. Oh, like gigantic penetrations. Anything where it's like, just like massive penetrations and shit like that. Like, you know, like especially like if it's a cock that gets really rammed down their throat or ass, or sometimes pussy too. But I'm not as excited by that for whatever reason. Big asses, big asses, big asses. Biting, very into biting. Trannies. I shouldn't say the word tranny. I know that offends some people. Oh God, now people know I'm actually concerned about offending people sometimes. Transgender people, porn, you know? Chicks with dicks is what I'm saying. At least I didn't use the word she-male. Oh, slave auctions. Any sort of like slavery scenario. Cannibalism, that goes with the vor thing. Giant cocks. Yeah. I think that pretty much covers a lot of it. You know, there's more, but yep. Would TJ give a BJ to a DJ named EJ? That's Shakes Cakes 297. Would TJ give a BJ to a DJ named EJ? Sure. You know, if EJ's attractive enough, if he's like, you know, for just giving a blowjob, someone doesn't have to be like the most beautiful person on the planet. Say as long as he's like 4.5 or above, I could give him a blowjob. That's according to my personal scale, so who knows where people fall on that. How far would you drive for sex? Depends on how hot the person I'm driving to is. For like my perfect 10, I'll go to the ends of the goddamn earth. I don't give a shit. That was Paul Olson, by the way. Zerpent asks, are you up in the club? No, I hate the club. Sir Jager asks, what is your opinion on Mary Tyler Moore? Nope, you're not getting an answer, bitch. Fuck you. Bethrin Fudge, are you a fan of Adult Swim shows? If so, what are your favorite? I love you. I'm a fan of, I'm not a fan of Adult Swim shows in general, but Venture Brothers is great, but my favorite show of all time, and I know that it's very early to say because there's only been one season and a couple of episodes leaked from the next season, but my favorite show of all time, and by a significant margin, Rick and Morty. I love that fucking show. Anyone who insults that show should be shot in the street and left to bleed and die, and their bodies shouldn't even be moved. They should just be feasted on by carrion birds. That's how strongly I feel. Mr. Airwave, who is your favorite Jedi/Sith and why? This is kind of a stupid question for someone who's not into the like expanded universe and stuff, because you know, I'm a fan of the original 3 movies, and that's about it. So there's not really a lot of Jedi and Sith to choose from. Darth Vader, my favorite Sith. Yoda, my favorite Jedi. Because, you know, there weren't too many back in those fucking movies. Hal Jordan, TJ, you once said your least favorite type of women are Asian women, mostly due to their ass, but you have said several times on your blog TV that there are several Asians that do have thick asses. Doesn't that contradict your argument of why they're your least favorite of women? You know, don't say that Asian women are my least favorite women, because I don't have anything against Asian women as people. I just happen to notice that as far as sexual attraction goes, I tend to be less attracted to Asian women than women of other races. And of course, that's not just universally true. There are definitely Asian women that I find attractive. But there are certain guys out there who really have a strong predilection for Asian women. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't have that. And in fact, I find that I have sort of the opposite. Sean Brogan asks, updated version of your favorite Manson songs, top 10. I don't, anyone, you should know by now that I don't do any sort of top whatever list on the fly. I'm not going to sit here and try to fucking rank shit in my head on the spot. What do you think of certain sites in the deep web openly featuring child pornography? Do you respect the desire to see CP? Do you think masturbating to CP avoids potential cases of pedophilia? That's Gerardo Ortiz Mild Air. I kind of feel like there's certain elements of that prohibition argument I was making earlier. There's always going to be a demand for this shit, no matter what anybody does. And it's pretty much evidenced by the fact that people are willing to risk jail sentences just to get their hands on this material because, that's what they desire. But you can't really treat it the same way as something like marijuana or alcohol or guns or anything like that because... while people might smoke marijuana and it might lead to negative effects in their life, or they might drink alcohol and lead to negative effects in life, or they might misuse a gun that leads to a negative effect in their life, none of those things inherently have to harm another person in the process. Child pornography inherently has to hurt someone else. Now, you can argue about the extent of whether the children are hurt. You can argue about the societal reasons why they're hurt. Is it just because society condemns this that it traumatizes children, or is there inherent trauma to this action? And I've seen those arguments play out on the internet. But the fact of the matter is that at this point in our society, children are not considered adults. They are not considered beings capable of giving that sort of consent. They can't enter into legal contracts. A child can't enter into marriage. A child can't sue a corporation. A child can't, decide to go off and live on its own. So, nothing in our society affords children the legal rights of adults. To say that children can now all of a sudden consent to sex is to say that they should have all those legal rights, and we should treat someone who's, 6 years old the same way we would treat someone who's 25. That just doesn't make any sense. They don't have the wisdom or capacity. They're not cognitively developed enough. So I would say that you should take a stand against child pornography. You should take a stand against that sort of thing. But I don't know how you actually go about stopping it. And I think that our society has almost this boogeyman-like fear that there's a pedophile lurking behind every bush and behind every corner, and that they're just going to seize the children and drag them into a van and take them off somewhere. And if you actually look at the statistics on how often that sort of shit happens, it's practically never. It's practically never. Usually when children are molested or raped, it's because someone in their family raped them or a close family friend raped them. But this whole fear of pedophiles has kind of led to a fear of men in general, especially when it comes to children. I've heard stories about tons of dudes feeling really awkward in places where there's a bunch of kids around just because they get the dirty looks from the women. And this happened to me and Scotty when we were clothes shopping. This woman's little kid kept wandering too close to us. She's like, come here. Like, yeah, we're going to fucking grab your kid in the middle of the store, take him in the dressing room and fucking, share him. I mean, it's gotten to this absurd climate of fear bullshit. But it's definitely a very complicated issue. But my ultimate stance is that it's wrong, and yeah, there should be legal repercussions to looking at that sort of material. Rusty Shackelford asks, do I smoke weed? If your name is Rusty Shackelford, yes, you do, and I understand the King of the Hill reference. Hoko199_virus. If Mr. Repsion burst through your front door and demanded that you fight him, what would you do? I'd try to suck his dick to calm him down, but if not, if that didn't work, I don't know, put him in a headlock or something. Toki Loki asks, TJ, I hate my stepfather. He is a pompous, upper-class prick who has no humility or self-control, and every other thing offends him. How do I deal with him? Any advice would be appreciated. It sounds like he's a gigantic man-child, and the best way of dealing with him is to avoid him wherever possible, and when you're around him, just intentionally provoke him and piss him off and make him not want to be around you. That's what I would do. I don't know if that's the soundest or best advice. I'm sure it's not the advice Dr. Phil would give, but that's what I would do. Supermasters 2009. What do you think of the current situation in Greece? A Grexit likely to happen? Is a Grexit likely to happen in your opinion? P.S. Scotty is better than you. Fuck Scotty. Greece fudged the numbers to get into the European Union in the first place. Maybe they don't belong there. They didn't even really meet the criteria. They cheated to get in. If you find out that a kid cheated to get into college, you kick him out of the fucking college. So I don't think it should be a matter of whether Greece leaves the EU. I think it should be a matter of the EU kicking Greece the fuck out. Russell asks, are you currently playing any video games? If so, what games, and are you enjoying them? Recently, I've been replaying for the third time in my life Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I enjoy that game immensely. I'd like to try some of the other recent Castlevania games. If anyone has any recommendations on that front, let me know. TJ, do you believe that the reason fat guys have small penises is because it is evolution/nature's way to protect the female from physical harm during intercourse, or to prevent the creation of a child that could have a degenerative trait, that being obesity? No, I think the reason fat guys have small penises is because their layers of fat engulf their penis. In fact, I know that's the reason, because I've experienced that, and my penis is large. It looks larger now and is larger when I get erect than it was when I was 350 pounds. I'm 285 now. So when you lose weight, you gain penis. Just a fact, because that layer of this is the penis, right? Okay, and if you're skinny, then maybe the layer of fat is up to here on the penis. You see, but the penis doesn't come out with the fat. Like, if you get fatter, your penis doesn't keep on extending with it. The fat just engulfs it to it's smaller and smaller and smaller. I know my hands are in front of the mic, so that might have sounded weird, but you probably heard what I said. TJ, do you believe that anyone who says they identify as a certain gender should have those rights to the gender they claim they are? I.e., if a man declares himself as a woman, he has the right to go into the women's bathroom, locker rooms, or shower rooms. No, I think that would be far too easy for people to game that system. I think that it makes sense for anyone who claims to be the opposite gender to undergo a psychiatric evaluation to make sure that that is, in fact, what's happening. And in fact, not everyone who has those feelings turns out being transgender, so it's probably good that we actually identify, is this a transgender person? Is this a person who has some other reason for their gender identity issues? So, no, I don't think that anyone who just says, I'm a woman, women's bathroom, get out of my fucking way. Evil Trout. I'm going through a rough time right now. I'm 18 and my life feels hopeless. The biggest problem is that I deal with painful loneliness, and I have zero friends, and I don't feel like anyone could possibly relate to me, especially girls. I've never been in a legitimate relationship with a girl. I guess my question is, how do I cope with this loneliness? Have you ever experienced this? Please answer me. It would mean a lot. Well, Evil Trout, you know, I understand the feelings of loneliness. There's definitely been times in my life where it felt like I didn't have any friends, and in fact, I didn't have any friends. You know, partially that was my fault because I didn't really put myself out there, and when I did, I felt like I just got rejected by everybody. But the thing is that you can't let rejections get to you because most people on the planet are probably not going to be your kind of people. But if you don't keep putting yourself out there, you'll never discover the people who are your kind of people. And if you do put yourself out there, you will eventually discover them. So, you know, I think just don't be afraid to be yourself and get rid of this notion that no one can relate to you, because there are definitely people that can relate to you. You're not that unique. I promise you, you're not that unique of a person that there's no one out there in the entire 7 billion people world that gets you. The fact is that you're the progeny of your two parents, and everything that comprises your personality, you know, came from one of them. And everything that seems like it didn't is a combination of two things that came from them. Because your brain was built with using the roadmap that your two parents contributed to you. So what that means is that there's people with your mentality out there in the world. Everything about you is determined by genes or circumstances that other people have indeed experienced, and you can find people that are like-minded. And maybe you should start here in the very comment section of this video. In fact, all of you guys should try to make friends with each other. Go to the Amazing Atheist fucking subreddit on Reddit. Talk to each other. See what each other's lives are like. You know, make friends. Talk to like-minded people. Don't allow yourself to be isolated. You know, don't allow yourself to avoid anyone who might challenge you or broaden your horizons or whatever the fuck. Impala Beeper asks, TJ, what do you think of vegans who want to make it illegal to eat meat and want meat to be off the menu due to health reasons and how it destroys the environment? You know, I don't agree with that. I think that people should have the freedom to eat meat if they want to, but honestly, having become a vegetarian myself, I can say that people in America really do eat too much meat. Maybe people all around the world eat too much meat. Evolutionarily, there's a reason why we desire it. But it used to be a lot harder for us to get. We were not meant to just eat meat all day, every day, with every meal. And the proof of that is I feel better since I stopped eating meat. I have more energy. I've lost weight at a healthy fucking pace. Just everything feels better. If I could quit smoking, I'd probably feel even fucking better. But, you know, I think people should be able to make the choice, though. I don't believe this shit, like, people have to be forced into doing this. You know, force makes sense sometimes. There's certainly instances where it makes sense to force people to change. But this isn't one of them. Let people decide for themselves whether they want to eat meat or how much they want to eat. TJ, this is David Rose, or Raj something. TJ, do you believe that eventually the Chinese will become so numerous that they will breed out every other race and eventually turning the entire world into a singular ethnic race, that being Chinese/Asian? No, I don't think that's a plausible scenario. TJ, when are you going to go bald again? You were terrifying and oddly sexy at the same time back then. Keep the beard, lose the long hair, and you'll be Channing Tatum. I don't think I'll be Channing Tatum. I don't plan to go bald again until I'm actually going bald, you know? You know, when the stuff up here, like this stuff, pretty much like right here, when that's gone, then I'll just shave it all. Because, you know, I'm not going to be one of those dudes that just has, like, the long hair on the sides and nothing on the top. But, you know, That's just me. Marcutis Gabber or Macuts. I don't know. Maybe trying to say the names was a bad idea. TJ, what do you think of predominantly owned gay fashion industry that perpetuates that beauty is being a stick with a flat ass, thus leading women to want to look like sticks? Do you think this is a good thing? Should we stop it? Should we promote it? If so, how? I think that it's fine. I mean, whatever. But honestly, I don't know. Gay guys seem to really think that the ideal female form is really, really skinny. And I don't just base this on the fashion industry. I base this about hanging out with gay men and them just any woman who's a little overweight. They're like, oh my god, lay off the donuts or whatever. I'm just like, you're gay. You don't tell women what to look like. You don't even want them. They shouldn't be listening to you. But yeah, I mean, I don't agree with it. I like women who are voluptuous. And, there are plenty of guys who do like women who are skinny and all that shit. And, more power to them. But women should just be comfortable being in the bodies that they have. And the same goes for men. People should just, if you're, a little chubby or whatever, it's fine. Obviously there comes a point of obesity where you're putting yourself at a serious health risk. But, I mean, that's your right to do, too. And some people even like those people. So, whatever. I don't care. I think people should just... have the body they want. Don't let yourself be influenced by some media message. Find the body type that you're passionate about, the body type that you want for yourself, and make that your reality. And if you can't make it your reality, just come as close as you can. AMQZ1. What do you think of Maddox from the best page in the universe? Do you read/watch his stuff? Yeah, I read his stuff, and I watch his videos. His level of output frustrates me. I don't think I'm entitled to constant new content, but at the same time, it's easy to lose interest when there's, months and months and months and months between one bit of content and another, and all the content is like, here, I wrote a new little essay that takes you 5 minutes to read, There'll be another one coming up in 7 months. It's like, okay, sure, why not? So I get a little frustrated by that, but, he's great, he's funny. I've always thought he was amusing. He probably inspired a lot of the early Amazing Atheist stuff, to be honest. Failed Stoic. TJ, you said you believe Gaddafi deserved to die, yet you didn't seem to think Osama or Saddam deserved to die. You also said you don't think the death penalty is necessary and people should deserve to be killed for heinous crimes. This is not hypocritical. I don't know if you're getting all these facts right. Yeah, I did say Gaddafi probably deserved to die. Gaddafi, though, was killed by the people he was oppressing. Osama bin Laden was killed by the United States government. I just feel like we could have got Osama bin Laden alive. We know that there wasn't even an order to try to get him alive. I think we should have got him alive. I think he should have been put on trial, and I think he should have been executed. But we didn't do that. We decided to just execute him. I think it would have been far more powerful if we'd captured him alive, made him answer for his crimes, and executed him after due deliberation, and with the American public in on every detail, every step along the way. As for, criminals that, live here in America, I don't care, a serial killer or whatever, I don't believe in the death penalty for people like that. Those people are just sick, and they're just really just everyday criminals. They murdered some people. It's tragic. Lock them up so they can't do it anymore. But someone like Osama bin Laden, who is an actual enemy of the country, yeah, I can see giving him the death penalty. Who was the other guy you mentioned? Saddam. Well, the reason I was against Saddam's death is because he was basically executed in a manner that just wasn't really fitting or humane. You know, and I have those kind of concerns about that sort of thing. I don't just feel like, oh, well, he's evil, so we can treat him however we want. I don't have that mentality. I don't have that vindictiveness. You know, I think that if you're gonna kill someone in the heat of a battle, that to me makes sense. But if you're going to kill someone just in a rational mindset, you're just going to deliberate and say, you know, I think this person needs to be killed. I think that's very, very, very rarely called for, and in the rare cases that it is called for, it should be done with the utmost solemnity. You know, it should be a tragic thing for us to do. It's sad. It should be sad to us that it's come to this point with another person, where, you know, we have to kill them. As a society, we have to say, this person should not be allowed to exist. And that, to me, should only belong to people who have committed atrocities. People who have attempted genocide or participated in terrorist attacks claiming the lives of thousands of people. That's when I think it's appropriate. But even then, it should be sad to us. We shouldn't, you know, relish it or take joy or pride in it, in my opinion. But, you know, these are just my personal feelings on the matter. They're just as valid as someone who says, you know, hang 'em high, kill 'em all, torture 'em first. You know, that's just their emotions on the matter. Probably could make some logical arguments back and forth, but ultimately it's all going to be rooted in what people desire emotionally. TJ, have you ever heard... Oh, I'm sorry, this is Fathoms and Joy. TJ, have you ever heard the reason the U.S. government wants to keep drugs illegal, which they said that they are already having numerous health problems from alcohol and cigarettes alone, and the government is already spending a lot of money on healing, fixing, aiding, or caring for people suffering from its problems, meaning if the floodgates opened of other drugs, it would multiply severely. What do you think of this? Well, first of all, simply by instituting universal health care, we could spend significantly less on health care than we do now, and that's easily demonstrated by the fact that every country who has universal health care spends less on health care than we fucking do. And the reason that system exists is basically because, you know, the medical industries, they want to be able to sell their drugs and their services at the highest possible price that they can, and they don't like when there's negotiation, and they don't like when the government pays for it because the government is going to get a discounted rate on everything because they are the sole people buying health care. You know, when you have a free market for health care providers can charge as much as they want to. When you have government providing health care, they can only charge as much as the government is willing to pay them. And that is, of course, advantageous because, you know, we spend less on health care outcomes. And the outcomes are just as good, if not better. So I think it makes sense to institute that. But that's kind of a whole separate issue. The drugs thing, you know, countries where drugs have become legalized or at least decriminalized have not seen this surge in people dying and overdosing and left and right. Actually, a lot of people who are addicted to these drugs are able to get the treatment they need, and they get off the drugs because they're no longer just being shoved into prison every time they get caught, you know, shooting heroin or whatever. They actually go to a fucking treatment program, and a lot of them get better. And that makes more sense. Even if we're going to keep these drugs illegal, the people who are doing drugs should not go to fucking prison. They should go into fucking treatment. That makes way more sense, does it not? I think it does. But, you know, that's me. Crazy liberal. Doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Schmanel asks... I'm sorry, I skipped somebody. Gkodo12 asks... TJ, what do you think of right-wing Japanese who say things such as being innocent and victims of war crimes and they were simply defending themselves from warmongers and Americans, and the West attempted to ruin their plans to unify Asia, or they deny atrocities. That is all Chinese and Korean propaganda and lies. They're delusional, just as so many Americans are delusional about our history. They should be treated with the same sort of bemused contempt. Schmanel asks, how many bananas can you fit in your ass now, and how many at a time of the banana video? I collect pornography of you. My faves are the ones with you stretching panties with your big ass pelvis. I don't know. I've never tried to fit multiple bananas in my ass. I've never had a banana in my ass before or since that video. But, I don't know. I could give it a shot and see. I'll get back to you with the answer. Marcus Barstow says, do you believe in the moon landing? Oh, I already answered the moon landing thing. Ditchard Rawkins asks, TJ, you said in your video that the only reason why Hitler was looked at badly and not as a great conqueror like Alexander or Genghis Khan was because he was a modern-day conqueror, when in fact it was most likely because of his racism. Agree or disagree? I disagree. I think that if Hitler had lived, 6,000 years ago, regardless of how heinous his views were, we would still hail him as this great conqueror who conquered all this land. And, we do it with Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was not a nice guy. Alexander the Great was a fucking murderous prick. He would kill you as soon as fucking look at you. Genghis Khan, same way. Raped women, murdered men, slaughtered children. Great conqueror, great military strategist. The same would have been with Hitler. It also has to do, if Hitler had won, we'd probably be singing his praises. Hitler, great military commander that, conquered Europe and the Americas. Leland Stevenson asks, TJ, have you begun noticing that LGBT is following the feminist route of searching for privilege and power in the guise of equality? Would you still support LGBT with this path they've chosen? I haven't really noticed that, so I can't really speak to it. What flavor of vape is your favorite? So far, strawberry custard. TJ, if you were given a chance to guarantee eternal world peace at the cost of costing many people freedoms and free thinking / thought, would you do it, or would you allow the world to continue as it is? I would allow the world to continue as it is. TJ, what do you think of racial double standards practices in places of business, such as a person being allowed to have tattoos of black pride, brown pride, but not allow white pride? Do you think businesses should be allowed to discriminate someone based on race, gender, or religion, who they serve or do business with, or even employ? Example, a business that fires employees who have two tattoos saying white pride, while employees who have tattoos saying black / brown or insert color pride are not. Well, the thing is, I've never met a person with a white pride tattoo who wasn't legitimately racist against other groups of people. There's never been someone, I have white pride, but I have no problem with anybody else. No, these are people who, hate every other group of people, don't think they belong here, don't think that they even belong living with white people. So I don't think it's the same thing. I don't think that most people, if they have, black pride, that doesn't necessarily mean they're racist against white people. But if some white person has a white pride tattoo, universally they're racist against pretty much every other race. But I guess to say something like that makes too many assumptions about someone's intentions that are unfounded. So I would say that, yes, if they're going to ban people from having a white pride tattoo, they should ban people from having any sort of I'm proud to be this race tattoo. But, I don't know. I guess I see both sides on it. As for should businesses be allowed to discriminate on someone based on their race, gender, or religion, I would say no, they probably shouldn't, but if someone can't do the job, then they shouldn't be hired. Like, if someone's religious belief prevents them from doing the job that they're being hired for correctly, then that's a perfectly valid reason not to hire that person. And that should not be considered religious discrimination. What do you think of comedians like Sarah Silverman who are afraid to do jokes or comedy about Islam over fear for their lives? Are you also afraid to insult Muslims? I participate. I actually have the fucking, if you do type in Draw Muhammad Day, my video is the first, or at least among the first, that comes up. I've also burned the Quran on YouTube, amidst the time when that was almost a global international incident. So, no, I'm not afraid to insult Islam. Jempa Heliska asks, if you were ever in desperate need of government financial aid or food stamps or something of that sort, would you apply for it at the risk of the government wanting every little tidbit of information about you, such as birthplace, bank accounts, social security, assets, and other private information to get you the assistance you need? The government already knows all that shit anyway, so what do I care? The Cheshire Cat says, do you see any practical alternatives to capitalism? Also, is your vegetarianism for ethical or dietary purposes? Take care, Big Bear. My vegetarianism, as I revealed in the last video, is for personal reasons that have nothing to do with ethical or dietary shit. As for practical alternatives to capitalism, not at this point in our technological development. I think that there might come a point where technology is sufficient that we no longer need to have capitalism in place as a mechanism to exchange and move about resources throughout our culture. I think there might come a point where we take a more free and open access policy and perhaps have some sort of meritocracy in place. But I don't think that's feasible at this point. It could be in my lifetime, probably towards the end, if ever. Lantern Jaw says, TJ, do you believe gays should get special benefits and privileges similar to blacks? Example, a race card, or in this case, a gay card. Be able to get into schools easier, get grants, or get into colleges with lower test scores. No, I don't believe anyone should be afforded those types of advantages. Legionus Silly, TJ, what do you think of men who like women with small flat asses or boyish asses? Not all boys have small flat asses. Do you think they are a notch away from being homosexual pedophiles? And when they sexualize women with boyish asses, do you think it's just their way of alleviating their desires without dipping into homosexuality or pedophilia? No, I think that's totally ridiculous. Magal Vanify asks, TJ, do you think children like Coy Matthews should truly be allowed to call themselves transsexuals or the opposite gender they were born with? Do children even know what they're really doing at that age? Wouldn't this be similar to supporting the idea that children can consent to sex? Should children have the right to get transsexual procedures done before the age of 18, similar to how you believe children shouldn't be allowed to circumcise themselves or drink other things until a responsible adult age? No, I don't think that the transgender thing works the same way as that. I think it's pretty easy to figure out if a child is transgender or not. Boys who are not transgender do not feel a pressing need to identify as female or wear female things or any of that stuff. There's a reason they feel that way, and it's pretty goddamn easy to tell because kids are not going to have that filter. They're going to be honest with you. And obviously, kids might have gender confusion issues, so it's not like if your kid says, I'd rather be a girl one time, you don't just say, oh, you're transgender. Okay, let's go buy you some dresses. No, I mean, but, if it's a persistent thing without any sort of encouragement or anything, and it just continues to be how they feel, and they continuously choose that route in everything, then obviously that's who they are, and that should be embraced. As for the surgery, I don't think that the surgery should be performed before they reach the age of reason, but I think, probably 14 or 15 would be an appropriate age for them to be able to decide if that's what they want to do or not. And you can't even get the surgery without going to a psychiatrist and having them counsel you. And there's plenty of psychiatrists that specialize in those issues. And, I think that, maybe that system wouldn't be perfect. Maybe there would be people who did it and then would regret it later in life. But I think that probably that would be about as much safeguards as you really need. Jason Hollows asks, TJ, do you find irony in the fact that after World War II, Japan was stripped of real military, but Germany wasn't, and the fact that Japan was allowed to have a memorial for all their soldiers who died in the war while Germany wasn't? Well, the way things ended with Japan and Germany were pretty different, and actually, when we occupied Japan, they were pretty gracious losers, honestly. They pretty much embraced America, and we became allies and friends. And things have been pretty good. Relations have been good between America and Japan since then. Maybe it's because we treated them nicely and rebuilt their country and allowed them to have memorials and all that. But, the Japanese were such valiant fighters that it's almost difficult not to have that sort of respect for them and their soldiers, especially when you read about things like Iwo Jima, where almost every Japanese soldier died because they fought pretty much to the last man. They were willing to die for what they believed in, and they had extreme loyalty and extreme tenacity. And, no matter what we did to them, we couldn't break their spirit until we dropped the atomic bomb. And even then, plenty of Japanese wanted to keep on fighting. It was the emperor who decided, I don't want my people to die in these kinds of numbers. So I think there's a great admiration for the Japanese, despite they did commit atrocities. But, there's a lot to admire about them from a sort of warrior perspective. I think that the Germans, on the other hand, we viewed with much more contempt, and perhaps rightfully so. This is Pineapple. Why are you such a handsome beast? So voluptuous is your beautiful body, but so volatile is your wretched mouth and eyes, full of such hatred, love, and indifferent passion. How are you such? I just am what I am. Jose Oaks asks, do you still have the respect you have for Christians that you said you grew after your father's death? No, I don't even remember saying that, but I take it back if I did. Hey TJ, you once said that it should be illegal for parents to have genital mutilation such as circumcision done to their children and have it be the child's choice at 18. My friend disagrees and believes that would be a detriment on what a parent can and can't do to their child. For example, school. If a parent wanted their kid to go to school and their kid doesn't, should the kid be allowed not to go to school because a parent can't choose to do what to do with their child or not? I think sending a child to school and cutting off part of its dick are not really comparable, and your friend is a moron. This is a surgical procedure that is both painful and unnecessary, and people should have the right to choose for themselves. Your body should not be altered against your consent. As for sending children to school, there's valid reasons why we do that. Pumpkin King says, what's your favorite Marilyn Manson song, and is Scotty the egg bitch? Well, Scotty's the fucking egg bitch. Why even asking? My favorite Manson song, at the moment, I haven't listened to Manson in about a month, so I don't really have a current favorite song, so I'll just go with a favorite song that I've had for a while, The Reflecting God from Antichrist Superstar. Yeah, I'll go with that. What's 9 plus 10? 19. Breast Hound. I've heard you're a big Nostalgia Critic fan, but what do you think about him being a feminist? I haven't noticed the feminist sensibilities creeping into his work. I think that Doug just likes to avoid controversy wherever possible. And he probably just says he's a feminist because he doesn't want his feminist audience to think he's an MRA and get on his case. So it's easier to just say, I'm a feminist. And it's not like he addresses substantive issues anyway. He's reviewing bad movies and making jokes. And, it's fine, whatever. Plenty of people that I admire are feminists. Plenty of people that I admire are Christians. Plenty of people that I admire have beliefs that are wholly and totally different than my own. I'm not that close-minded where I can't look past that. Piper Loveless asks, what is your opinion of gender fluidity? Is it legitimate or just another special snowflake term? There's plenty of stuff that gets adopted by the special snowflake crowd. A lot of mental illnesses for some reason. A lot of weird identities and identifications. There's a lot of people out there looking for who they really are, and they're going to decide that there are a million crazy different things. That being said, I don't know. There probably are people who are legitimately gender fluid. I'm sure that exists within the huge spectrum of different ways that people can be and feel. I'm sure gender fluidity is in there. That said, I'm sure there are plenty of special snowflakes using it for a way to get attention. Greetings from Germany. This is Chris Nurigat. I really enjoy hearing Galen on The Drunken Peasant, so I wanted to ask, how did you meet Galen? Please do the Galen voice. My throat's kind of sore to do the Galen voice, but I'll try. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you and rape your corpse, because I'm Galen. I'm gonna fucking rape you in the ass, bitch. Not my best Galen voice, but like I said, my throat is sore from so much talking. Galen's a good guy. I met him. He left a comment on my YouTube video. I thought he sounded interesting. I noticed he lived where I lived. I sent him a message. He still sounded interesting. I suggested we meet. Shit. Yeah, we met at a place called Tiffin Inn, which is a diner in New Orleans, known for its shitty service, outdated decor, and substandard food. So I love that place, and went there all the time. And I met him there, and I gave him a drawing that I colored with coffee stains, and we got to talking, and we talked for a long time. I thought he was one of the most intelligent people I'd ever met, and really impressed, and we became fast friends, and been friends ever since. Daniel Applebaum, what did you think of the new Batman vs. Superman trailer just came out? I already put a video out on that, so yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do a couple more. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get all the comments on the screen, and then I'm gonna answer all the ones that mention butts, because I feel like closing on some butt-related questions, if there are, in fact, any butt-related questions here. Show more. Sorry, I gotta get all the questions on the screen, and that takes a while, and there's really nothing interesting to say in the meantime. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Okay. Come on. Motherfucker. You fucking questions. Why doesn't it fucking show more than like a few every time I scroll through this? Just show all, motherfucker. Shouldn't there be like a show all button where, you can just open every fucking question at once? And so you just have a page with every fucking question. Why do I gotta scroll down and keep clicking show more, show more, show more, show more? La da 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 la da 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 da. God, so tedious. Wish I had just done this before I started, but I didn't know I was going to end this way, so. Oh my god, come on, you fucker. Show more. No, 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 no. And the things I go through for you fucks. Down, 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 down. Okay, finally got them all. So Control F, butts. First one. Why do you like butts so much? Don't you know that's where poop comes from? Well, babies come from the vagina, and the babies are way grosser than poop. So, argument invalid. What's your favorite famous women and men's butts, as you are a fan of butts? Kim Kardashian and Nicki Minaj. I like their female butts. I also like Scarlett Johansson's smaller but still nice butt. As for male butts in media, I don't really know, you know. I see a lot of nice guy butts online, but I don't really see too many in, like, movies and shit. There's some wrestlers that have nice asses, but I can't remember exactly who off the top of my head. Which country would you be most likely to visit, which you haven't already, and why? And please exclude the answer Brazil for the butts. Okay, Portugal for the butts, then. Or Thailand for the chicks with dicks. The chick with dick thing kind of overrides the Asian thing. If you could have been born in any race or culture, real or fantasy, what would it be? Also, butts and voluminous breasts. See, this person was smart. Even though his question is not butt-related, he added butts just because he knew I would do this. If you could be born in any race or culture, real or fantasy, what would it be? That's a tough question. I don't know. Probably, you know, if I could be born into ancient Rome or Greece as, like, an emperor, that'd be cool. All right, so we're going to answer... See if anyone asks questions with asses. Yeah. Glasses. Ah, there we go. That's already the Asian one I answered. That's the boyish asses one I answered. Do you like female asses or male asses too? I like both sexes' asses, although female asses tend to be better. What do you think of Spider-Man / Peter Parker's character? Please give your opinion across specific adaptations and on him in general. Also, if more American comic book / Japanese manga... also, what, if any, American comic book / Japanese manga do you read or have you read? Oh, and one last thing, as a fan of big asses, I know you'll love Melanie Monroe. I'm just going to ignore those other questions because they don't interest me and just look up this Melanie Monroe chick. Monroe. Let's see. This bitch. Oh, yeah. Yeah, bitch. I'm gonna bite that fucking ass right off your body. Yeah, Melanie Monroe's pretty good. At least ass-wise. I don't know if I dig her aesthetic otherwise, but... Yeah, just for fucking bonus, I'll answer shit about penises, too. Who do you have sex with? One-night stands, Craigslist... Does your height make men and women think you have a big penis, alluring them into bed, or do you just fap? I'm pretty much always honest about my penis size before I get with someone, just because I don't want them to have the false impression that they're going to be getting, like, fucked by, you know, an eggplant or something. I don't do one-night stands. Like I said, I really like to get to know someone before I have sex with them. But, you know, I've had a fair number of partners that I've gotten to know well. And, unfortunately, I don't always part on the best terms. Usually because they get more attached than I do. Do any of you guys have a tattoo? If yes, please show us, especially if it's a penis tattoo. Who's you guys? It's just me here, dude. Fuck, I'm starting to cough from all this dry throat shit. Would you rather have penis-sized nipples or a nipple-sized penis? I guess I'll go with penis-sized nipples, even though I don't really want either of those. How will you suck my penis? Just with extreme passionateness and care, and just like trying my hardest to make you feel as good as possible. If I asked you on a date after gushing about how big of a fan I am, would it be a turn-off or something positive? Also, would you show me your penis if I asked? I don't have any problem dating a fan. That usually works out better for me because they're, more likely to gush over me, and that's, I like to have my ego gratified, so. What's the largest penis you have sucked in real life? 9.5 inches. Penis? Yes, thank you. Has having a small penis negatively impacted your sex life? Well, I'm told that my penis is within the range of average, although it's on the lower end of average when it's hard. But I guess it's probably affected me negatively, not so much because other people have rejected it, because I feel self-conscious about it. Like sometimes I'll have it in somebody, and I'll just start to feel overwhelmingly that it's inadequate for them. It's not giving them any sort of pleasure or extreme sensation. It's just this, little thing that's in them, and they're just, thinking negatively about me and all this other stuff. It brings out the worst of my social anxiety, and that can be detrimental. TJ, I know you're not a biologist or anything, but I had thought, at what point in human evolution do you think masturbation arose, at least for men? Because think about it, you need an opposable thumb to grasp the penis and sufficiently large brain to produce images to jerk off to. Would it ever be possible to know this, or would it just infer it from evidence we have? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Well, masturbation exists within the animal kingdom. I've even heard of turkeys masturbating. So an opposable thumb and a big brain to generate things to jerk off to does not seem to be a necessity. So I think masturbation is pretty old and not something that's unique to humans. Fuck, I gotta go. My throat is too dry. I need to figure out some way to quench this. I'll see you guys later.